It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do, and I'm a team player.
CaitlinClark has finally had enough, and this time she won't remain quiet. Fans were unprepared for Clark's intense outburst and criticism of the WNBA when fellow star Sophie Cunningham was abruptly expelled. Favoritism, power battles, and a growing disparity are the primary problems plaguing women's basketball, not just the lack of one superstar. So what specifically led to Cunningham's sudden removal? And why is Clark taking this significant opportunity to speak up? Put on your seatbelt. The controversy is only getting started. The WNBA breakdown, including Sophie Cunningham and CaitlinClark. The drama in the WNBA reached a whole new level on June 10, 2026, when the Indiana Fever and Phoenix Mercury played a violent game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. This most recent problem revolved around two of the top names in the league, Sophie Cunningham and CaitlinClark. What started out as a fiercely competitive, high-stakes battle quickly expanded beyond basketball. CaitlinClark, who is already well known for her record-breaking NCAA run and rapid rise to WNBA superstardom, has been under constant pressure since making her professional debut. Her skill set draws sizable crowds and widespread media coverage, but it has also made her a target for both supporters and critics off the court. Game after game, Clark has been punished severely, which has sparked debate within the basketball world. Some supporters call it rookie hazing, while others think there's a deeper reason behind these persistent attacks. Clark's bodyguard is Sophie Cunningham, who is known for her unwavering allegiance and straightforward manner. Sophie has never given up on a battle, and on this particular occasion, her protective instincts truly came into play. Midway through the second quarter, Cunningham charged in without thinking as Clark collapsed after yet another serious foul. She confronted the offending player, making her presence known even though she wasn't involved in the action. The quickly developing scene saw players charging into the altercation, shouting, shoving, and referees desperately attempting to keep control. After a lengthy video evaluation, the officials made their decision public. Sophie Cunningham was expelled for intensifying the altercation. Fans exploded on social media in a matter of minutes. Many saw Sophie not as a nuisance but as the only person willing to stand up for CaitlinClark. But why did Sophie Cunningham's endorsement of CaitlinClark spark chaos and rage across the WNBA? Keep watching. The turning point was Sophie's final defense of CaitlinClark. The crowd's anger had barely abated after Sophie Cunningham was kicked out when things took an even more disgusting turn. The tension that had risen throughout the season between the Indiana Fever and the rest of the league reached a breaking point in the last 46 seconds of the game in Indianapolis on June 28, 2025. Basketball was no longer the focus of this. It was now unvarnished, heartfelt, and personal. It all started with fans calling the message foul. The Fever was already far behind, thus the result was now certain. But Sophie Cunningham had lost interest in the scoreboard. After seeing CaitlinClark get punched, shoved, tripped, and even poked in the eye during game after game with little to no reaction from the referees, Sophie had reached her breaking point. As JCS Sheldon went down the floor for a fast break layup, Sophie closed in and committed a hard, obviously intentional foul. Everybody in the arena let out a gasp. The referees didn't need much time. In a matter of seconds, Sophie was taken out, given a nasty smack, and banished. For many onlookers, this was more than just a foul. It was a statement and a warning shot aimed at the league and its officials. If you won't stand up for Caitlin, I will. Fans responded online, with some criticizing Sophie for going too far and others applauding her for acting appropriately. After the game, interviews showed how deeply frustrated people were. When reporters questioned Caitlin about the incident, she remained calm but couldn't hide her frustration. She sidestepped and said, "Let's talk about basketball." But everyone could see the emotion in her remarks. Sophie Cunningham has never been shy. She is renowned for her black belt in Taekwondo and her fearless dedication to the sport, and she has always conducted herself with toughness and determination. But more than ever, this season has tested that fortitude. The irony of it all was that the WNBA's national prominence had been virtually maintained by CaitlinClark. "I simply couldn't sit there and watch Caitlin take another cheap shot," Cunningham later remarked. A message had to be sent by someone. Since her arrival, TV viewership has reached all-time highs, attendance has tripled, and jersey sales have skyrocketed. Venues from Indianapolis to Los Angeles were packed a few months ago just by Clark's sheer presence. Millions of new women's basketball fans were drawn to the sport by her social media presence, and local companies thrived on game days. However, when Caitlin missed time earlier this season due to a minor injury, WNBA ratings fell by an incredible 55%. That figure alone stunned the sports media. Nevertheless, Clark received little to no assistance from the authorities as he continued to be hit week after week. Whether it was Marina Mabra's infamous body check or Izzy Magmagor's strong block that caused her to fall or Angel Reese's flagrant to the head, the league's message never changed: you're on your own. At this point, CaitlinClark's frustration became intolerable. What did Sophie Cunningham do? Keep an eye out. This narrative is going in a crazy direction. As CaitlinClark's annoyance grew, a terrifying reality descended on June 10, 2026. Sophie Cunningham was ejected from the Indianapolis game. Even the protectors of CaitlinClark were not safe for very long. The WNBA did not simply expel a player. They issued a warning to anyone thinking about defending Clark in court. But if the league thought that this would silence the criticism, they were seriously mistaken. Instead, they set up a spark that has already expanded into a national issue and frenzy of outrage among fans. For CaitlinClark, this was a much deeper cut than simply losing a teammate. Her anger was fueled by a growing double standard that had followed her from college to the professional ranks. Legends like Michael Jordan and Larry Bird had built their careers on intensity, trash talk, and raw competitive fire. They received praise for it and were described as legendary, harsh, and relentless. But when Clark shows the same vigor, she is labeled as conceited, divisive, or worse. The truth hurts even more since the WNBA has never needed her so badly. Clark's arrival significantly changed the league's visibility. Sell-out arenas, record TV ratings, and merchandise flying off the shelves. Because of her, every Fever game became a national event. But it seemed like the league was either unable or unwilling to give her the basic protections that any professional athlete ought to have. Now the murmurs are becoming more audible. Is CaitlinClark able to depart? Would she sign with an autonomous league backed by billionaires that would protect her and pay her what she is worth, or would she accept one of the purported multimillion-dollar offers from Europe? Social media users frequently use hashtags like "Let the WNBA collapse" and "Protect CaitlinClark." Fans are openly pleading with her to go for her own sake. Other players have also expressed their thoughts. Some who once engaged in intense competition with her now admit that they understand her frustration. In post-game interviews, veterans like Diana Taurasi and Brittany Gurrier urged the league to act. During the All-Star break, a Phoenix player even made the joke, "Hey Caitlin, let me know if you want to come to Phoenix." But when the league's culture deteriorated, that light-hearted remark took on new significance. And now the pressure increases with each day that goes by. The WNBA is at a perilous juncture. They run the risk of losing the largest attraction in women's basketball history if they make one mistake. How, then, did one rising star and her toughest defender bring the WNBA to its knees? You won't want to pass this up. A league split over Sophie Cunningham and CaitlinClark. Social media was already on fire as the night of June 10, 2026, in Indianapolis came to an end. Fans were furious on Instagram and Twitter within minutes of Sophie Cunningham's expulsion. Sophie Cunningham's dismissal for defending CaitlinClark is precisely what's wrong with this league, a user tweeted. Another person wrote, "She's the only one willing to have Clark's back, and this is the thank you." CaitlinClark's response on the court was more powerful than her remarks. Caitlin, who is renowned for her intense concentration and inability to express her feelings outside of gaming, was unable to contain her annoyance this time. With a tense attitude, Clark approached the scorer's table while officials gathered there, making hand gestures in an attempt to get answers. Her brief but pointed conversation with the officers was captured on camera. Later, Clark maintained her composure in post-game interviews, but her tone revealed her emotions. She made it very evident that she valued Sophie's support and that playing under this kind of unrestrained aggression was exhausting her without openly criticizing the officials or the league. She acknowledged that it's difficult. However, I am grateful to my teammates for defending me. This was more than simply another game day plot for a lot of fans. It became the most recent instance of what they perceived to be an expanding pattern of unjust treatment. Throughout the season, Clark had suffered blindside blows, body knocks to the floor, and elbows to the ribs with little to no response from league officials. The ejection of Cunningham seemed to be the final straw. Sophie also didn't let the occasion go unnoticed. She wrote on Instagram, "I'll always ride for my teammates," hours after the game. Forget about it. In a matter of minutes, that one line became global. ESPN pundits, former WNBA players, and even a few current NBA players joined in the discussion. While some debated whether Sophie had gone too far, others commended her for her loyalty and courage. The following morning, the WNBA league office confirmed that Sophie Cunningham would not be suspended and released a statement supporting the officials' in-game ruling. If anything, it added gasoline to the flames instead of calming things down. Supporters believe the penalty still fell short of the league's uneven performance in player protection. CaitlinClark, meanwhile, was doing what she does best, letting her game do the talking. She ended the game that evening with 28 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds despite all the commotion. However, one question remains as the cacophony intensifies. How much longer can Clark bear this burden? The crucial question at hand is how much longer CaitlinClark can handle this intensifying storm by herself. Hold on tight. I take it that this is what occurs. This is what takes place. You have competitive women who are the world's greatest at what they do, don't you? They will compete and support their teammates if you let them play physically and let these things happen. The WNBA's CaitlinClark crisis, the buzz around CaitlinClark only got louder as she left the court following yet another intense night in Indianapolis. This was no longer about a single guy having a difficult game or a couple hard fouls. It concerned a league losing control over an issue that had been developing for some months. The CaitlinClark controversy in the WNBA has gotten out of control. What started out as challenging physical play, a normal aspect of elite competition, has now evolved into something much riskier. On-court targeting, cheap shots, hard fouls, and even online harassment from players and supporters. There are new highlights of Clark being hit, shoved, or grabbed without repercussions every week. The figures are astounding. As of June 30, 2025, CaitlinClark was the target of more than 17% of all egregious fouls this WNBA season. Give that some thought. Almost 1 in 5. And things worsen. A startling 80% of those reports came from the Chicago Sky, which was previously at the center of several contentious Clark-related incidents. Stephanie White, Clark's coach, has had enough. She confronted the league head-on in front of media following yet another game marred by incidents. She claimed that this has been going on for the entire season. The problem affects the entire league. White didn't hold back when questioned about a technical foul she received during the game. She stated there was no explanation, but it was clear that something was going on. Things is what happens when officials lose control of a ball game and permit things to continue. Fans are also at their breaking point. Comments such as, "Is anyone going to stand up for CaitlinClark?" flooded social media. This isn't basketball anymore. There's a fight every night. NBA players have begun to express their thoughts as well. "Yes, she has a target on her back, but she doesn't deserve this," said Shady McCoy. Fans are not the only ones who criticize. Sponsors and sports media are now closely monitoring the issue. Some are even questioning whether the WNBA can survive this growing PR disaster. The league achieved record viewership following Clark's debut, but its player safety procedures and officiating standards are currently under scrutiny. The true surprise, though, is whether sponsor pressure and public outrage may lead to the WNBA's collapse. Watch this space to find out. The situation around CaitlinClark gets darker and more alarming with every game, from basketball to combat. What began as physical, combative basketball has now escalated into something much more dangerous: pure hatred. The game in Indianapolis on June 20, 2026, was the most recent example, though by no means the only one. From full body checks to eye pokes, Clark is becoming a regular target. As the attacks increase, the league becomes more silent. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Angelbert has not yet publicly addressed the evolving situation. Supporters are watching. The officials seem to have lost all control as game after game descends into chaos. On social media, there are a ton of irate comments calling the league a circus. Moreover, the criticism is not just directed at angry fans. NBA greats like Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Paul George have openly demanded that Clark be safer. Garnett's words, "Your best player, you protect her," was all that was needed. However, the league's passivity forced the Indiana Fever to take matters into their own hands. Sophie Cunningham, who is already well known for her perseverance, is Caitlin's bodyguard on the court. Every time Clark commits a harsh foul or a cheap shot, Cunningham is the first to step up and send a strong message to the rest of the league. "Touch Caitlin and deal with me." Sophie's approach has given Clark some breathing room, but it has also fueled the flames. Games that should have been about skill and teamwork are now dominated by headlines about fights, ejections, and heated confrontations. Commentators are saying it out loud. This isn't basketball anymore. It's a combat zone. In terms of revenue and audience, the league is most negatively impacted by the fallout. After Clark missed 5 games earlier this season, WNBA viewership dropped by more than 50%. Ticket sales plummeted. Sponsors started to feel uneasy. Even team owners voiced concerns. The message from fans is now extremely clear. If Caitlin isn't playing, they won't be observing. In addition, this circumstance is further dividing the basketball community. Fans of CaitlinClark and WNBA fans now make up the two factions of United supporters that first backed the league's expansion. Indiana Fever supporters are no longer playing rival clubs. The WNBA's reputation is deteriorating with every harsh foul, missed call, and unanswered hit. The league is engaging in risky behavior. If Clark sustains another injury, it could permanently harm not only her but also the WNBA's future as a whole. However, what are your thoughts? Has the WNBA already lost control over the CaitlinClark situation, endangering its future as a whole? Millions of Clark supporters are venting their frustration against the NBA players that the media and casual sports fans are watching. To ensure you don't miss anything, please leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on all alerts. After you click the video on the screen, I'll see you in the next one.